How to Rewire Your Brain for Mental Strength. Marcus Aurelius Stoicism Motivation. Your mind is being programmed every single day by what you watch, what you repeat, what you tolerate, what you fear, what you avoid. And most people never realize their brain is slowly becoming weaker through repetition. Negative thoughts repeated daily become identity. Fear repeated daily becomes personality. Distraction repeated daily becomes addiction. Weakness repeated daily becomes character. That is why some people collapse under pressure, while others remain calm in chaos. Their minds were trained differently. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He knew the human mind is shaped by repeated thoughts and repeated actions. A disciplined mind creates strength. An undisciplined mind creates suffering. And today, millions of people are mentally exhausted because their brain has been programmed for anxiety, distraction, emotional reactions, and weakness. But the beautiful truth is this: the brain can change. You can rewire it. You can train yourself to become calmer, stronger, more disciplined, more focused, more emotionally powerful. But it requires awareness and repetition, because the mind becomes what it practices. Tonight, you are going to learn how to rewire your brain for mental strength using Stoic wisdom, emotional discipline, and powerful psychological habits inspired by Marcus Aurelius. Subscribe to Stoic Reflections now for more videos on Stoicism, emotional mastery, self-discipline, mental toughness, and personal growth. Because in a mentally weak world, a disciplined mind becomes a weapon. Point number 1. Train your mind to stay calm under pressure. Most people panic too easily. One problem appears, and immediately their mind collapses emotionally. Fear takes over. Anxiety takes over. Negative thinking takes over. But mental strength begins with emotional control. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that external events are not the true problem. The real problem is losing control internally. A mentally strong person does not avoid pressure. They train themselves to remain calm inside pressure. Because calmness creates clarity, and clarity creates power. There was once a young nurse named Amelia working inside a crowded emergency room. Every day felt chaotic. People screaming, machines beeping, doctors rushing. And during her first weeks, she panicked constantly. Her hands shook. Her thoughts raced. She made mistakes because fear controlled her mind. One evening, an older doctor pulled her aside and told her something she never forgot. Panic never saves lives. Calm minds do. That sentence changed her. Instead of feeding fear mentally, she began practicing stillness under pressure. Deep breathing, slower reactions, clearer thinking. Months later, during a serious emergency, everyone around her panicked. But Amelia stayed calm. And because she stayed calm, she saved someone's life. That is mental strength, not the absence of fear. The ability to remain steady despite fear. Your brain rewires through repetition. Every time you stay calm under pressure, your mind learns strength instead of panic. A weak mind reacts instantly. A strong mind pauses first. That single pause can change your entire life. Point number 2. Stop feeding your mind negativity. Your brain becomes what you repeatedly consume. Most people poison their mind daily without realizing it. Negative news, negative conversations, negative entertainment, negative people. And then they wonder why they feel mentally exhausted and emotionally heavy all the time. The Stoics protected their inner world carefully, because whatever enters the mind repeatedly eventually shapes thinking. There was a man named Jordan who woke up every morning scrolling through negative news and social media drama. War, arguments, fear, anger, chaos. Slowly, his entire personality changed. He became cynical, anxious, emotionally reactive. One day, after realizing he felt mentally drained every single morning, he made one decision. For 30 days, he stopped feeding his brain negativity. No toxic content. No endless doom scrolling. Instead, he read philosophy, exercised, spent quiet time reflecting, and something incredible happened. His thoughts became clearer. His emotions became calmer. His anxiety decreased. Because your mind absorbs whatever you repeatedly feed it. A healthy mind requires healthy mental consumption. Protect your brain carefully. Not everything deserves access to your thoughts. Point number 3. Do hard things on purpose. Comfort weakens the brain. Modern people avoid discomfort constantly. Cold showers feel uncomfortable. Exercise feels uncomfortable. Discipline feels uncomfortable. Difficult conversations feel uncomfortable. So people escape discomfort daily. And slowly, their mind becomes fragile. Marcus Aurelius believed difficulty strengthens character. The Stoics intentionally practiced discomfort because hardship trains resilience. Every time you survive discomfort, your brain learns, I can handle difficult things. That rewires confidence internally. There was a teenager named Leo who struggled with severe self-doubt. He avoided challenges constantly because failure terrified him. One day, his grandfather challenged him to wake up every morning before sunrise and run 5 miles for 30 days. Leo hated it. The cold mornings, the pain, the exhaustion. Every day his brain begged him to quit. But something changed during those 30 days. His mind became stronger. His discipline increased. His confidence grew. Not because life became easier, because he stopped running from discomfort. The brain rewires through challenge. Every difficult thing you survive increases mental toughness. This is why disciplined people often appear more confident. Their mind has been trained through repeated discomfort. The comfort zone feels safe, but nothing powerful grows there. Point number 4. Control your inner dialogue. Most people destroy themselves mentally through the way they speak to themselves. I'm not good enough. I always fail. I can't handle this. These problems are too much. And after repeating these thoughts long enough, the brain begins believing them. Marcus Aurelius constantly observed his own thoughts carefully because he understood the mind follows repeated thinking. Negative self-talk rewires the brain for weakness. Disciplined self-talk rewires the brain for resilience. There was a boxer named Marcus who lost several fights in a row. After every defeat, he insulted himself mentally. You're weak. You'll never succeed. You're a failure. Eventually, his confidence collapsed completely. One night, his coach told him something powerful. You've been losing the fight inside your mind before stepping into the ring. That truth changed everything. Marcus started monitoring his thoughts carefully. Not fake positivity. Controlled thinking. Instead of saying, I can't do this, he trained himself to say, this is difficult, but I can improve. That small mental shift changed his entire performance over time. Because the brain listens to repeated thoughts constantly. Speak to yourself carefully. Your inner dialogue becomes mental programming. Point number 5. Learn to be alone without feeling empty. Most people fear solitude because they are uncomfortable with themselves. The moment silence appears, they reach for distraction immediately. Phones, music, noise, entertainment. But solitude is where mental strength develops. Marcus Aurelius spent enormous time alone reflecting deeply. Because solitude strengthens awareness. A distracted mind remains weak. A reflective mind becomes powerful. There was a woman named Elena who could never spend time alone. Silence made her anxious. So she constantly surrounded herself with noise and people. One weekend, after everyone canceled plans unexpectedly, she spent 2 full days alone. At first, she felt restless and uncomfortable. But slowly, something surprising happened. She began thinking clearly for the first time in years. She reflected deeply, journaled, walked quietly, and by the end of the weekend, she realized something powerful. She had spent years avoiding herself emotionally. That experience transformed her relationship with solitude forever. Mental strength grows in silence. Because silence reveals your true inner condition. If you cannot sit alone peacefully, your mind may already be controlling you more than you realize. Point number 6. Stop seeking constant validation. A mind addicted to approval can never become fully strong. Modern society trains people to depend on external validation constantly. Likes, attention, praise, recognition, and slowly, people lose connection with their own internal value. The Stoics warned against becoming emotionally controlled by other people's opinions. Because the moment your peace depends on approval, you become mentally weak. There was a musician named Ryan who posted every song online hoping for praise. If people loved his work, he felt confident. If people ignored him, he felt worthless. His emotional state depended entirely on strangers. One evening, his father asked him something painful. If nobody applauded your talent tomorrow, would you still love music? Ryan sat silently, because deep down, he realized he had become addicted to validation. That realization changed him completely. He began creating because he loved the process again, not because he needed approval. And slowly, his confidence became internal instead of external. Mental strength begins when your self-worth no longer depends on applause. Point number 7. Practice emotional detachment. Most suffering comes from emotional overattachment. People become mentally destroyed by outcomes they cannot control. Relationships, money, opinions, success. The Stoics practiced emotional detachment because they understood life is uncertain. Detachment does not mean becoming cold. It means remaining emotionally balanced regardless of outcomes. There was a businessman named Victor who lost nearly everything during an economic crisis. At first, he collapsed emotionally. Panic controlled him completely. But while reading Stoic philosophy during that difficult season, he discovered something life-changing. He could not control the crisis, but he could control his response. Slowly, he stopped emotionally obsessing over what he could not change. Instead, he focused only on actions within his control. That mental shift saved him psychologically. And eventually, he rebuilt his life stronger than before. A mentally strong brain learns acceptance, not emotional resistance to everything. The strongest minds focus on what they can control and release what they cannot. Point number 8. Build discipline through small daily actions. Mental strength is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built daily, quietly, repeatedly. The brain rewires through repetition. Small disciplined actions repeated consistently create powerful mental change. Most people fail because they chase motivation instead of systems. Motivation disappears. Discipline remains. There was a student named Noah who struggled with laziness constantly. He wanted success, but lacked consistency. Every week he promised himself he would change. Every week he failed again. One day, instead of trying to transform his entire life overnight, he made one small decision. Read 10 pages daily. That was it. 10 pages every day. Slowly, that small habit changed everything. His focus improved. His discipline improved. His confidence improved. And eventually, other positive habits followed naturally. Because discipline rewires identity. Every small promise you keep to yourself strengthens the brain. And every promise you break weakens trust within yourself. Point number 9. Stop running from failure. Fear of failure destroys mental strength. Most people avoid risks because failure feels painful emotionally. But failure is one of the greatest teachers the mind can experience. Marcus Aurelius understood that obstacles create growth. The Stoics believed hardship trains wisdom. There was a young entrepreneur named Daniel who failed 3 businesses in a row. After the third failure, he wanted to quit completely. He felt embarrassed, humiliated, broken mentally. One evening, his mentor told him something powerful. Failure did not destroy you. Your fear of failure did. That sentence changed his perspective. Instead of seeing failure as proof of weakness, he started seeing it as training. Years later, his 4th business succeeded enormously. But more importantly, he became mentally resilient. because every failure taught him endurance. The brain becomes stronger every time you survive disappointment without giving up. People who never fail usually never challenge themselves enough to grow. Point number 10. Give your life purpose. A brain without purpose becomes mentally weak quickly. Without direction, people drift emotionally. They become distracted easily, depressed easily, hopeless easily. Purpose gives suffering meaning. Purpose gives discipline energy. Purpose gives the mind direction. There was a retired teacher named Samuel who felt empty after leaving his career. Every day felt meaningless. He lost motivation completely. One afternoon, he began tutoring struggling children at a local center. Slowly, life returned to his eyes again. His energy changed. His happiness returned. Because humans need purpose psychologically. The Stoics believed every person should live according to meaningful principles. A purpose-driven mind becomes harder to break. Because purpose creates resilience. When life becomes painful, purpose keeps you moving. Your brain is always changing, always adapting, always learning from repetition. The question is, what are you training it to become? Weak or disciplined? Distracted or focused? Fearful or calm? Because your repeated thoughts and repeated actions eventually become your identity. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. That is why he guarded his mind carefully. And you must do the same. Train yourself to stay calm under pressure. Protect your mind from negativity. Embrace discomfort. Control your thoughts. Learn solitude. Stop seeking validation. Practice emotional detachment. Build discipline daily. Learn from failure. And live with purpose. Because mental strength is not something people are born with. It is something they train. Day after day. Thought after thought. Habit after habit. Subscribe to Stoic Reflections now for more powerful videos on Stoicism, emotional mastery, self-discipline, mental toughness, and personal growth. And remember this, a disciplined mind can survive storms that destroy weaker people.